everyone. It has been a while. Today I actually have a hematologist appointment. This will be my first hematologist appointment to figure out what is going on with the antiphospholipid thing. I have a lot of antibodies suggesting that, and to be honest, it's a little scary. It's a little scary knowing that I'm a lot more prone to blood clots even after having to stop taking the pill. I asked my rheumatologist a few questions a couple months back just regarding the antibodies and how it affects me, what I should do to take precautions to prevent clots, and she didn't really have that much information for me simply because she doesn't specialize in it. So her being the good doctor that she is, she suggested that I go ahead and see a specialist, more specifically a hematologist. It's always a little scary seeing new doctors just because you don't know how they're gonna act towards you. I've seen a couple doctors who just look at me with makeup on, I'm naturally a pretty thin girl, and they just think, oh, you're too young to have these problems. There's no way you're not healthy, just that kind of thing, and it's just a little frustrating sometimes. But yeah, I'm gonna hopefully get some questions answered today. Mainly my concerns at the moment are my flight to Italy. We will be leaving to Italy at the end of March, and I'm so freaking excited. It's always been my dream to go to Italy. We're gonna go to Venice, Florence, and Rome, so I'm just so beyond excited. But we do have a few flights on the way there and on the way back, and we will be in one plane for a good 10 hours. So that's gonna suck. If anybody doesn't know, even normal people are more likely to get blood clots on planes if you are not getting up and walking around and wearing compression socks and stuff like that. We did fly to North Carolina in December and I did okay, but they did have me but my rheumatologist suggested that I take baby aspirin for the week before, the week of, and the week after traveling, just to hopefully prevent any clots. But I'm not sure if with my levels and stuff I might need a higher preventative, or it's just good to get those questions out there. And the other thing that I would like some clarity on would be pregnancy. So my POTS has been in remission since late October. We have had to up my dose since then, but it seems to still be in remission. Of course, I still have all my other illnesses and other symptoms of dysautonomia that I have to deal with, but the actual heart rate problems have mostly been in remission. I went in with a beauty blender and just a little bit of this L'Oreal Infallible Matte Foundation, and then now I'm going in with the Maybelline Tattoo Studio brow pomade gel thing. Yeah, I don't know, with a brush. I've been really enjoying just putting a very small amount instead of, going all crazy with my brows lately. I don't know, I just feel like it looks a little more natural for me. But yeah, since my POTS has been in remission, we've been thinking about possibly having a baby, and I'm not on birth control, so my chances of getting pregnant are a lot higher. And we're not trying, but we're not trying, But trigger warning, antiphospholipid syndrome can cause you to be a lot more prone to miscarriages and losing the baby and complications during birth, and just a whole host of other issues. I know that a lot of pregnant women with antiphospholipid syndrome, depending on the severity, I think, actually have to give themselves daily or twice daily injections of blood thinners into their stomach. So that's a little scary too, but I've always wanted to be a mom, and I don't think that I'm gonna let that stop me from being a mom if I'm even able to get pregnant, So whatever I have to do, I'm definitely willing to go for it. But since we're not planning, but we're also not trying not to get pregnant, I feel like it would be a good idea to go ahead and get ahead of the game and figure out how this could affect me and pregnancy, and figure out what we could do to prevent something and just get on top of everything. see if I need to go ahead and see a high-risk OBGYN, just so that I'm already prepared for a pregnancy if it happens. So yeah, that's what's going on today. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get some lunch with my mom, and I have a couple groceries that I need to pick up, as well as pick up my prescriptions. So it's gonna be a little bit of a busy day for me. But yeah, I just thought that I would do a very light makeup look today, just so that I don't feel as dead as I look. Wait, no, just so that I don't look as dead as I feel. There we go. Alright, now I'm gonna go in with some Maybelline Fit Me concealer in the shade 11 Vanilla. Definitely pretty pale right now. So I had to actually go buy a lighter shade recently because I've just gotten so pale. Just gonna spot conceal and put a teensy bit under my eyes. This is a look. I also wanted to update you guys on my digestion. As most of you guys saw, I had a lot of testing done. I had an endoscopy, colonoscopy, liquid gastric emptying study, solids gastric emptying study, and I was suspicious of gastroparesis for a good while, although I tested negative back in 2018. That was with the solids only test. They did not test me for liquid. Apparently liquid should actually be tested every single time because it's a more sensitive test. And so you can have gastroparesis, but it not show up on the solids test. So this doctor, he actually ended up testing me for liquids and solids, and what do you know? I am positive for gastroparesis. I did test negative for the solids test. I tested positive for the liquids, which makes a lot of sense because I always feel like I get so filled up from fluids, and it turns out they just sit in my stomach for way too long, and then obviously the food still sits in my stomach for way too long too. So because of the gastroparesis, I also have GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, which is acid reflux, but you know, it can, if it gets pretty severe, then it can cause other complications. So I'm trying to take control of that as well. So what happens is my stomach is actually partially paralyzed. So my stomach is not able to digest foods and liquids at the proper rate and get them moving along, which means that the food and fluids will just sit in my stomach for a lot longer than they're supposed to, which in turn, I guess my stomach is kind of like, hey, this shouldn't be in here. So instead of being able to push it out this way, it kind of pushes the food and the fluids back up my throat, which would explain the scratchy feeling that I get in my throat and just sometimes feeling really short of breath and having a cough all the time. I think that might actually be the cause of that too. So yep, I've got gastroparesis. My stomach is paralyzed a little bit. I'm just gonna go in with the Huda Beauty Nude palette. I'm probably gonna go between Tickle and Tease. But yeah, it's a little bit scary getting this diagnosis for a couple reasons. One, my gastroenterologist does think that it's more so my Sjogren's and not my dysautonomia. Although I think he just thinks that because Sjogren's is an autoimmune disease, just like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. But I'm not too sure. Regardless, it is a little bit scary because a lot of people with gastroparesis actually end up having to get a feeding tube or can't digest any food at all through their stomach. So what ends up happening is they will have to either get their nutrition through things like TPN, which is where you get your nutrition through your blood, through a little needle, like a, what is it called? A port, I believe, right here. And or they end up having a feeding tube that goes straight into their intestines because their stomach cannot absorb nutrients and it cannot keep any food down, just stuff like that. So it's a little bit scary knowing that a lot of people with gastroparesis are in that situation, and also knowing that a lot of them actually have Sjogren's and dysautonomia. So it's just scary. It sucks looking back and seeing how much I loved food and now actually being pretty scared of it. You know, I still get cravings, I still eat when I can, but it's just hard trying to find that new balance, and it just doesn't make sense even trying to find a new balance because every single day is different. So I can have a heavy dinner one day, for example. Obviously, I'm still going to be very symptomatic and just not feel good when I eat that much food or any food at all. And then the next day, I'll be stuck on Ensure shakes and Boost shakes and barely able to tolerate those. And then the next day, you know, it really varies day from day. And I think that's something that a lot of people might not realize too. And they're like, well, why don't you just only eat this? Why don't you just only eat that? It's like, well, you know, you gotta figure out a way to get some nutrition in. Plus, nobody wants to go to a restaurant and just sit there and like not eat, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm just gonna add this shade in the Morphe 350 palette on my lids. It's just kind of hard, and it's one of those things where there's not many treatment options at all. It's kind of just treating your symptoms as you go and, you know, hoping that you don't get worse. But there are 2 treatment options. One of them has some pretty serious complications of like stroke and seizures, and I think he said your jaw and your tongue gets stuck and you can't move, so you have to go to the ER to get a shot or something like that. I don't know. But that medication is supposed to help with gastroparesis. And then there's also another one that you can't get in the US, but apparently you can order it from Canadian pharmacies. So he kind of gave me the option of if I wanted to try those medications or if I wanted to continue trying to treat myself and my symptoms as they come and go. He also suggested ginger for nausea and all of that. And he also suggested, what is it called? FD card, which, to be honest, has done nothing for me. They gave me like 15 boxes of it, sample boxes, and it has done nothing for me. My stomach has definitely still been acting up, not as bad as it was in my previous videos, but it still is really just like waxing and waning and doing its own roller coaster kind of thing. So I'm not too sure if this is just like how my stomach is now, or if it's gonna get a little better, or if it's just gonna continue to get worse. I don't freaking know. Like, it sucks not knowing what's gonna come the next day with your symptoms and all of that. I'm gonna go in with Clinique's High Impact Mascara. It's a little mini tube. The other scary part is that it's obvious my Sjogren's or dysautonomia is causing my gastroparesis, which means that it's now definitely affecting my organs. That wasn't a question before from like bladder problems and stuff like that. But the fact that it's actually caused my stomach to not work properly anymore is a little bit scary. And I don't want to say that like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis and all those other conditions that people have that are well known are not serious, because they are, and they should be treated as such. But I think a lot of people hear conditions like dysautonomia and Sjogren's and just they don't know what they are, and they're not willing to learn about it, and so they just kind of push it under the rug and think, oh well, I haven't heard of it, it's obviously not something bad, or I would know about it. You know what I mean? A lot of people tend to do that, and it just sucks, because I know that if I said that I had lupus or I had arthritis or I had something else, then I feel like people would be a little more empathetic because they know what it is, or at least they've heard of it. But then with conditions like Sjogren's and dysautonomia, even though they can affect your whole body, and for most people they do, they're often overlooked and just seen as this little inconvenience that you can just get through every single day and just not have to worry about. You know, you don't need medications or anything, when in reality that's not the case. Sjogren's is considered a sister disease to lupus and rheumatoid arthritis, which means that they're so similar in symptoms and how they affect your body and everything that they actually group them together when it comes to different types of autoimmune diseases. So that right there should tell you, well, if you know someone who has Sjogren's or has like dysautonomia or other conditions that you haven't heard of, maybe be a little more empathetic. Just because you haven't heard of it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect your significant other or your loved one every single day, and it doesn't mean that it's less severe than other people's conditions that you have heard of. There's over 80 or over 100 autoimmune diseases, guys, and a lot of them have very similar symptoms, so just try to be empathetic. If you know someone who has any of these conditions, do your research. You know, if you see that they've been posting on Instagram that they've been laying on the couch for like a week and you can tell that they're struggling, just message them. Just say, hey, looks like you're not doing too well. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? I was just wanting to check up on you. Just be that person for them, because a lot of times they don't want to ask for help. They don't want to go to somebody because they don't want to feel like an inconvenience. So just try to be empathetic. Try to put yourself in their shoes and be there for them. Honestly, just be there for them. If you have any questions, ask them. If you want to know, hey, how does this affect your daily life? If you want to know, hey, can this affect your organs? Just go ahead and ask and see, you know, if there's something that you can help them with, and just try to get a better understanding of the conditions. Because even if you Google it, you're not going to get as good of an understanding as if you ask somebody who actually deals with them on a daily basis. For example, if you Google Sjogren's and you go to like one of the first links, it just says Sjogren's is an autoimmune disease that causes dry eyes and dry mouth. That's not the case, not even close. It raises your chances for lymphoma, it causes joint pain, it causes all kinds of pain, it causes gastroparesis, bladder problems, it can affect a lot. But that's why I'm saying you should really consider asking questions to the people who you know who actually deal with these conditions. I'm gonna go in with the Milani Strobe Light Highlighter in Afterglow. But as you can see, now my stomach doesn't work properly because of my conditions that nobody has freaking heard of. So just try to be there for the people in your life, guys. Try to check up on them. If you know that they're having a hard time, you know, just ask them, hey, how are you doing? How can I help? You don't even have to ask how you can help. Just ask how they're doing and they'll appreciate it, trust me. I got mascara everywhere. I'm just gonna put some chapstick on, the Chapstick Total Hydration. I've actually really been loving these chapsticks. I used to swear by Burt's Bees and different other ones, and these just have been working so well for my dry lips. The NYX Liquid, and then I'm going to use some of the NYX Liquid Suede lipstick in the shade Tea and Cookies. Push my lashes up a bit because they tend to fall so quickly. But yeah, that is my update. I have gastroparesis. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do or how long I'm going to wait until trying medications. I don't know. It's hard realizing that now my organs are officially being affected by my conditions. But yeah, this is my final look with my unbrushed hair. But I just thought that I would just do a really quick get ready with me video and give you guys a little bit of an update, because I know I've been a little absent again. I'm gonna try and post some more and post some informational videos on dysautonomia, Sjogren's, and POTS and all of that. And I have a couple ideas up my sleeve. So if you guys like this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll also have my Instagrams down below. I have two accounts. I have a personal and then I have a chronic illness one. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!